Good morning, everyone. I'm excited as usual to be with you again on this evening to talk to you about the culture of faith. The culture of faith. So here we go. Here we start again at that point. Um, on our last time together, we talked about violent faith. We talked about how you have to have this faith. What is violent faith? We talked about it's a faith that will move mountains, and it's a faith that will shake the very foundations of all your reality. I want you to make sure that you hold on to that word reality, because when we see reality, we put it at a certain place, and that's as far as we go with it. We can't go any further, but it's going to even shake what you think will happen. We talked about some things that may need to be in place before you can even have valid faith. And I'll come back probably at the end and talk some more about that. But it's a pleasure to be with you on this evening. It's time for us to learn more. It's time for us to step over into those uncharted waters. So we are learning the culture of faith. I think it's so key that you understand what the whole foundation of it is so that you can really move in it. Again, like I said, we're in this season that we're in is not for the faint at heart. It is not starting and stopping. It is that we are going to keep running on through this. So we also talked about that impossible faith that pleased God. So we're going to start right there now. We're going to start there talking about that impossible faith that pleases God. Wow. When you look at this flyer, impossible faith that pleases God, imagine you are in a desert situation. You are in a place and you just don't know, but you still believe God. You're in the middle of an impossibility. You're Sarah, you are Abraham. You are in the middle of an impossibility, but you get behind that impossibility and your eyes are not focused on the situation, but it's focused on God. And because it is focused on God, you are pleasing him. You are pleasing him, because in Mark 9:33 it says all things are possible to him that believe. That means all things. It's not a side swipe, it's not a little bit. If you believe it, that it is possible. And a lot of us want to have the whole plan of God for our lives laid out in front of us before we will ever take a step of faith, before we'll take that step of obedience. That is not walking by faith. That's walking by sight, because you've got the plan. So if you already have the plan, so what are you doing? You're walking by sight. In some situations we can be placed in, this is to make us grow. And some of those hard, tough places is to make us grow. And we got to find out that the word is real, or if you are just trying it out as a faith business. So as we know, we are dividing the hard times. And if we find out during the hard times that faith is real, then we can have another thing that I like to call, it's called persistent faith. Violent faith is what will build the kingdom. Violent faith. Violent faith will build the kingdom. Violent faith is beautifully displayed through Daniel and the three Hebrew boys that we often preach about, the fiery furnace and the den of lions. Go back and read Daniel 3. Every situation can almost be reversed by faith. You know, when you go in and the doctor gives you a diagnosis, then that diagnosis, it can be reversed if you have faith. Maybe it's an attitude that we walk in. So we got to take seriously the provisions that God gave, that was purchased and that they were secured, everything through his high price. He already paid the price. He paid the price for us. So it's with his high price that's already been paid that we must have the attitude, and we've got to say, this was done at the cross for us. So now I must walk in this violent faith, and you will make a change. Your circumstances will change, And you have to recognize the things that are surrounding. You have to be familiar with the triggers. You have to stay strong and you have to keep moving. Go back and see that picture again, that flyer that showed us in the desert, in the bad place. No matter what was going on, there's nothing that you can see in the natural that's going to help you. But all you know that this weight is upon you, and God has given you an assignment. And God has said that you're going to do certain things. So in that, you keep pressing. And this is what's pleasing God, that you are not focused on what you see, but you know that he's called you to do something. So that's where we are. So today, let us start talking this evening about what to do when faith appears weak. I want you to keep in mind during this study time, I want you to always, and I think we have a flyer out there, I want you to always go back and pull this from time to time, those 4 steps that you need to walk a situation out. And I think I gave it to you from Mark 8:25 through 34. Mark 8:25 through 34. 4 steps you need to walk this thing out. You got to say it, you got to do it, you got to receive it, and then you got to tell it. All right. So those are the things that you will have before you. So here we go. What to do when faith appears weak. And it also appears that the victory has been lost. We be in some situations sometimes, and it looks like everything is going perfect. We are victorious. We just won a battle, but then everything crashes. Wow. 2 Corinthians 4:4, whose minds the God of his age has blinded. Ephesians 6:10 and 17. You all know these scriptures, so I'm not going to prolong and read them with you, but we'll go back to them and talk about it. It tells us exactly who the enemy is. It tells us exactly who the enemy is. If we are overcome, it is our fault. It's not God's fault. You know, we want to blame somebody sometime for things that are going on, but it's not God's fault. It's our fault. There is no need to be defeated because we're not defeated. God has given us a plan. And I'm going to give you some steps, and I may get out of order, but just bear with me. I don't know how much of this will get done on this evening because I really want you to get it. I want you to get this at a place. Let me grab my warfare Bible. I want to keep it right here with me. And I really want you to understand, as I've already said, I want to bring this back to your remembrance that what are we doing this year and how we're going to fight our battles this year. We're going to fight our battles this year, understanding that wisdom is what we're going to use this year. Wisdom is one of our primary warfare strategies. In Ephesians 6:10, it says, finally, my brother. This is the whole armor of God, and we know this. Finally, my brother, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. And then it goes on and you start putting on the armor. So I'm not going to go through all that right now. But here's a step. You have to first recognize the source of the opposition. Number one is we're talking about when faith appears weak and the victory is lost. Number one thing that you must understand is that that you're not defeated, and that God's given us a plan, no matter what it looks like. You know, you've been in a situation and everything is going great. Everything looks great. You are prospering. Everything is good. This is happening. That's happening. And boom, the bottom falls out. Well, you're not defeated. You're getting ready to go to another dimension. God's getting ready to take you into something higher. So one, you want to recognize the source of the opposition. And most of the time, recognizing the source of the opposition is simply knowing that it is not you, it's not the people around you, it is the enemy, because we're not warring against flesh and blood. And then you have to stand your ground. Stand your ground. People accuse God of different types of catastrophes. They accuse God of death. They could accuse God of all kinds of things. but in every storm, he makes a forever command in everything. So his command is peace be still. Peace be still. And so if we're concerned about the source, go back and read John 10:10. It's contrasting. He said, we have to keep our eyes on Jesus if we want to see him at work, because the enemy comes. He comes to steal, kill, and destroy. John 10:10 simply erases any type of confusion as to where there is it's coming from. If we want to listen to the word of God, if we want to hear what the word will correct our thinking if we are paying attention, not what you've been taught, but what the word is saying. God usually gives us warnings about things. Most of the time he gives us warning. We just don't pay attention. The Lord warned me about something and I spoke it out and everything, thought it was for everybody. Why did I not think it was for me too? So we've got to learn how to be obedient. The Old Testament was always, the whole Old Testament was warnings from God. And why do we think we don't have warnings? He has set us up to prosper. He has set us up to be great, but yet and still, we want to blame him from things, and it's not him. The enemy has no right to dominate us, the church.